I find myself in need of some more tabletop terrain. I have a couple battle boards already, but they're rough, rocky badlands, and I need something lush and woodsy. To start with, I'll find a wooden board about the size I want. You could use foam, cardboard, or really anything. For me, this piece of wood is available, and it's the size I'm looking for, so I'll use it. I'll paint the surface the green I'm using for the terrain itself, so any spots which end up showing through won't matter. Now, I'll mix the ground cover. This is sand for texture, glue so the ground will dry hard in the end, and paint to make it all the color I want. You could make this any color or texture you want by using different paints or adding different materials. I'm using green paint and sand because it needs to end up looking like grassy or mossy ground. There's no single correct recipe to use. It's all vibes. While it's still wet and things will stick to it, I'll add more materials to create a tangled, organic forest understory look. I'm using bits of bark and some dried plants. Using dried tea would be good, and that would be easy for anyone to get. But in my case, I'm using a mix of dried greens from lettuce to lawn weeds. I have a tortoise, and he scatters his breakfast out of his dish all the time. So I can easily source dried plants just by raiding corners of his cage or looking under his rocks. Use your brush or finger to press everything flat once you have it where you want it, so it adheres well. Make sure to soak your brush or finger or whatever you're using in soapy water before you do this, so the ground material won't stick to it. Also, while it's all wet, I'll pour on some very watered down black to bring out textures and add lowlights. Let's add some fallen trees as well. I'm using twigs from the ground for this. Before that sand and glue mixture dries, let's use the extra to make bases for some trees. A neighbor trimmed his juniper bushes and dumped the clippings on the side of the road, and I picked up a handful of good little trees. For the bases, I'm using cardboard with a couple of pebbles glued on for stability. Do you have any ideas for things to add to the terrain to make it more unique?
Well, we could add some small animals or critters to the terrain, like rabbits or squirrels. Maybe even some birds flying around. That would give it a more whimsical feel. They'll definitely add a touch of magic to the terrain, that's for sure. Plus, it's always fun to spot little hidden details in a game environment. I can't wait to see our final creation come to life.
Let's dry brush the high points to tie everything together a little more. Then put a layer of spray shellac onto everything to seal it. When working with organic materials like this ground and these trees, it's important to spray them with isopropyl alcohol before applying varnish. This will help the varnish to soak deep into the material and harden it, rather than simply glazing the outer surfaces. This is similar to what you see when you water a bone-dry houseplant. When the soil is dry, it repels water, but as it becomes wet, it becomes easier and easier for the water to soak deeper into the soil. The same thing applies to organic materials when varnish is applied. The isopropyl alcohol helps to open up the pores of the material, allowing the varnish to soak deeper and harden it more effectively. This woodland looks awfully conventional and Earth-like. For our game, we need a sci-fi aesthetic. What would you suggest to make the woodland look more otherworldly?
I would suggest taking some of these earthy details and making them more colorful and abstract.
Like plants with unusual colors, for instance?
Absolutely. You could incorporate plants with vibrant, neon-like hues or even bioluminescent elements. Picture a forest where the leaves glow in shades of electric blue and the flowers emit a soft, ethereal glow. It would create a mesmerizing and otherworldly atmosphere for your tabletop terrain. In conclusion, you can use a variety of materials to create a realistic and interesting environment, including found objects to add detail and interest. Experiment with different techniques. There are endless possibilities when it comes to DIY tabletop gaming terrain. The only limit is your imagination, so get creative with building your own unique gaming environment. Be sure to have fun. If this helped give you ideas, you can help us out in return by liking this video and subscribing to our channel.